Hello, sports fans. It is Monday, September the 21st, the year 2015. And as always, a lot to get to in the sports world, so let's get it going right now. Great to be back with you guys. Hope you guys had a fabulous weekend in what was a wild and woolly NFL weekend, where for the first time in NFL history, Tampa Bay, Cleveland, Jacksonville, Washington, and Oakland all won on the same day, and that's amazing considering how bad those teams played last week. All five of those teams win yesterday for the first time on the same day in NFL history. Think about that. All right, let's recap it all. Let's go down to New Orleans. Let's get down to New Orleans, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers shocked the New Orleans Saints 26-19. Tampa Bay up to 1-1. New Orleans down to 0-2. Let me start with Tampa Bay first. First of all, nice job by Tampa Bay. Winston played so much better than last week. They were really fired up to play this game, Tampa Bay. They looked like they were out to prove something. They were atrocious last week at home against Tennessee. They came to play this week. Winston avoided the big turnovers. Tampa Bay led for most of this game. The Saints led briefly at 7-3. Then Tampa Bay pretty much carried the play for most of the game. New Orleans tried to rally late but fell short. Nice win by Tampa Bay. I never thought this was happening. I mean, after last week's debacle where Tennessee just blew out Tampa and Winston was throwing interceptions all over the place and looked lost, I never thought Tampa Bay was even going to win a game this year. Nice job by Tampa Bay. Good job being prepared for this game. Winston avoided the big turnover, did some nice things. Looks like he has some ability. We'll keep an eye on him. Now, let's get to the New Orleans Saints. What planet are the New Orleans Saints on? I mean, are you kidding me? They've now lost 5 straight games at home. New Orleans, again, 3 turnovers. We saw that all last year. I mean, forget about this big home field advantage in the Superdome. That's gone. They used to be able to never win on the road. Now they can't win at home. What's going on with Breeze? What's going on with the coach Payton? What's going on with Rob Ryan flying around the sidelines? I mean, Rob Ryan, your defense is terrible. You can't stop anyone in a big spot. Payton, who we all love as coach, what's going on here? I mean, this is a terrible job by New Orleans. I still don't understand why they gave Jimmy Graham away, but that's another story. And Drew Brees does not look like the same player anymore. I mean, he's got a Super Bowl. We all love Drew Brees. The Saints look lost again. I thought they'd come back this year after a terrible season last year, and I didn't expect them to get to the Super Bowl this year. I thought they'd be more competitive. I thought they'd beat the Tampa Bays at the world at home. They look terrible. I mean, awful job by the New Orleans Saints. Awful job by Coach Payton. Rob Ryan, your defense stinks. Drew Brees, what's happened to your game? I mean, my goodness, the New Orleans Saint fans are going to start wearing bags over their head again. This was a dreadful performance. You can't beat Tampa Bay in your building after what Tampa Bay did at home last week to Tennessee. Tampa Bay is starting a rookie quarterback. Are you kidding me? Awful, deplorable, despicable loss by New Orleans. I'll tell you, New Orleans looks like they're going to have just as bad a season as they did last year. And I have nothing but respect for Peyton and Breeze. They have a Super Bowl together, but they look like the bloom is falling off the rose. And Rob Ryan, enough of showing him on the sidelines, running around like a Sasquatch on the sidelines. Your defense stinks. I mean, terrible performance by New Orleans. I mean, 5 straight home games. Remember when, going into Superdome was like a snake pit? Now everyone goes in there and wins. Now even Tampa Bay, where Winston goes in there and wins. And Tampa Bay had the better of the play for most of this game. New Orleans rallied late to make it close. I mean, unbelievable performance by the Saints. Saints are in for another long season. The Saints are going in the wrong direction. Terrible job by them. Give Tampa Bay credit. They showed up to play. They get the win. Let's move off that game, please. All right, let's go down to Carolina, where the Carolina Panthers beat the Houston Texans 24-17. Carolina up to 2-0. Houston down to 0-2. This was a messy, sloppy game for most of the game. I'll tell you, first of all, Carolina has a good defense. Their defense is going to keep them in most games. They have trouble scoring. We know they're not going to score a lot of points, but Cam Newton makes enough plays with his legs, enough downfield passes where Carolina is going to be at least competitive. Remember, they won the division last year at 7-8-1. So Carolina is going to be at least competitive, more than I could say for their division rival New Orleans. Carolina, good defense. Cam Newton making some plays, diving into the end zone, doing somersaults, throws a good deep ball. The defense is going to keep them in most games. Houston Texans, they have no offense at all. First of all, they missed Foster at running back. Have to get him back in the worst way. They have no running game. I mean, I could go in the backfield and get more yards than Houston's picking up. I mean, Houston's getting like 1 yard a carry. They went with Mallett at quarterback. He was, I would call, okay at best. Had a chance, Houston, to tie the game late, but they got stopped on downs deep in Carolina territory. I mean, again, Houston lost the turnover battle. A team like Houston cannot lose the turnover battle. They have to win the turnover battle. Their defense has to force turnovers, and they're putting so much pressure on their defense with not being able to run the ball and not being able to score. I like Houston's defense with Watt and all those guys, but they're putting too much pressure on them. They can't win the game themselves. I mean, you have to have some offense. Right now, Houston has very little, no running game, poor quarterback play. I mean, you got to get Foster back. Let's start there. Got to have Foster back, and I don't know how he's going to play this year. He had a somewhat serious injury. We'll see when Foster gets back and how he plays. Right now, Houston does not look good, and I'll tell you, they were featured on that Hard Knocks series. That's another show. I don't watch anything. I don't watch it all. I mean, that's another show. You watch that show, Hard Knocks, and you think the Houston Texans are the greatest team in the history of sports. I mean, I don't pay any attention to that show. I mean, it seems like every team that goes on that show has a bad season. But Houston, very, very poor start. No offense, poor quarterback play, no running game, putting too much pressure on their defense, and they keep losing the turnover battle. When you're Houston, you have to win the turnover battle. Nice job by Carolina. Houston better pick it up or their season is going to get out of hand in a hurry. Let's go to the Steel City in Pittsburgh, where the Pittsburgh Steelers just rout the San Francisco 49ers 43-18. Steelers up to 1-1. Niners down to 1-1. Listen, the Steelers are going to be able to score this year. We know that. Roethlisberger to Brown all day yesterday. Niners looked like they had a hangover from the other night. Steelers will be able to score. It's going to come down to Pittsburgh. Will they be able to get a pass rush? And will that secondary make any plays? They had a team that was made to order for them yesterday. We know San Francisco is offensively challenged. They're not going to, do much damage, stretching you down the field. San Francisco is perfect for the Steelers. The Steelers were able to get a pass rush yesterday, able to play well in the secondary, just lit up San Francisco. The Steelers just put up so many points, and the Steelers are even missing a couple key guys on offense. The Steelers' offense is solid. It'll come down to the defense. We'll see. We'll see what kind of defensive performance the Steelers get throughout the year. Steelers are a definite playoff contender, I think. They'll be battling with Cincinnati for the division. Offense should be solid. We'll keep an eye on the defense. Yesterday, they played a perfect game. They just blew out the Niners. This game was over in the second quarter. Niners had a hangover from Monday night. I mean, they just did. I don't trust the Niners this year. I think they're going to be kind of an up-and-down team. I was very disappointed in them last year. They have a new coach now. Kaepernick, you still don't know about him. You still don't know how he's going to be in this league. We'll keep an eye on the Niners. I think it's going to be an up-and-down year for San Francisco. Pittsburgh blows out the Niners yesterday. Let's go to Minnesota, where the Minnesota Vikings beat the Detroit Lions 26-16. Vikings up to 1-1. Lions down to 0-2. I kind of had a feeling this was going to happen. Nice bounce-back performance by Minnesota. The coach was all over them after the bad performance against the Niners on Monday Night Football. I had a feeling they were going to come home and respond. Adrian Peterson got some things done. I thought Bridgewater played well. I thought the Vikings' defense really played well. Vikings, I think they're another one like the Niners, up and down. You might get like an 8-8 from them, play well at home, bad on the road, but they played very solid here yesterday. And Detroit, danger time for Detroit. They're 0-2. Their defense looks bad. Remember, they lost Sue and Fairley. I said coming into the year, the defense is not going to be as good. Danger, danger, danger time for the Lions. I don't like the body language of them at all. They come home. Now, they played the first 2 games on the road. They go home next week, but they got Denver. They could be looking at 0-3 and their season falling apart quickly. I don't like what I see at all from Detroit, especially on the defensive side of the ball, giving up way too many points. I mean, they can't stop anyone. I don't like what I see from Detroit at all. We'll keep an eye on them. They could very easily go to 0-3. We'll get to the picks tomorrow. All right, so that's that game. Let's go to Soldier Field in Chicago, one of my favorite stadiums in all of the NFL, as I always say, where the Arizona Cardinals just rout the Chicago Bears 48-23. Cardinals up to 2-0. Bears down to 0-2. I told you at the beginning of the year, I thought the Cardinals were going to be a good team. Everyone thought they'd be bad. I thought they'd be pretty good. They got Palmer back. Fitzgerald looks like he found the fountain of youth. What got into him yesterday? He looked like, was a spring chicken out there. He looked really good. Chicago just lost again. Cutler goes out with an injury again. Clausen comes in. I mean, Chicago defense not good. They got shredded. Cutler again hurt. Just a complete mess in Chicago. They're a complete mess. And I really feel bad for those Bear fans. They're some of the greatest fans in all of the NFL. Play at historic Soldier Field, and they got to watch this slop week in and week out. And I'll tell you, I think it may be time for Cutler to go. I mean, I just think Chicago needs to completely redo this thing. I mean, it's just not working. It's just a mess in Chicago. Now Cutler's hurt. We'll see how, if he's going to play next week. Just a complete mess in Chicago. Arizona routs them 48-23. Embarrassing performance by the Bears. Nice win by Arizona. Let's go up to Buffalo, where the New England Patriots hold on and beat the Buffalo Bills 40-32. New England up to 2-0. Buffalo down to 1-1. I'll tell you, New England just continues to get it done. Year in, year out. Every time you think they're going to be picked off, they respond. Buffalo scored early in this game to go up like 7-0. From that point on, New England outscored, Buffalo 37-6 at one point. It went from 7-0 Buffalo to 37-13 New England. I mean, then Buffalo has a furious rally. They get it to 40-32. They get the ball back, but then they throw an interception at the end, and New England hangs on. But at one point, from early in the first quarter to the fourth quarter, New England outscored Buffalo 37-6, and this was a rout at one point. I mean, I couldn't believe New England was moving the ball at will. Where was that Buffalo defense yesterday? New England shredded them. I mean, just an awful performance by Buffalo. I mean, New England always plays well against, first-year starting quarterbacks. I mean, I thought the Buffalo quarterback for most of the game did not play well. I thought New England had their way. Now, Buffalo did have a furious rally at the end to make this game a little more competitive, 40-32. But at one point, this game is 37-13 in the fourth quarter. I mean, New England really had their way for much of this game. New England pushed around Buffalo. Buffalo defense, where were you yesterday? So New England continues to do it, year in, year out. They find guys, and you still got your staples with Brady and Gronkowski. Buffalo, you still see how far away they are from getting to that next level. You saw that yesterday. Buffalo's still got a lot of work to do. New England gets the win. Let's go to the jungle in Cincinnati, where the Cincinnati Bengals beat the San Diego Chargers 24-19. Bengals up to 2-0. Chargers down to 1-1. Dalton 3 touchdown passes. I'll tell you, Cincinnati always wins in the jungle. They always play well at home. They always play well early in the season, Cincinnati. I always feel like the last few years, Cincinnati's off to a quick start. And we all jump on the Bengal bandwagon, and as the year goes on, we start jumping off that Bengal bandwagon. This was a very competitive game. Cincinnati hangs on and wins. I think San Diego's a decent team. But San Diego is another one of those teams. They're up and down. They win one, lose one. They can't string like multiple wins together ever. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to look up and San Diego is going to be like 8-7 again and maybe fighting for that last wild card spot. That's how San Diego plays. This was a very tight, competitive game. Cincinnati just a little bit better at home in the jungle. Bengals again off to a 2-0 start. We'll see if they can maintain that. We'll see if Dalton can maintain these good performances. San Diego, like I said, they're up and down all the time. Very competitive game. No disgrace losing to Cincinnati here on the road. Bengals get a tough, hard-fought win in the jungle. Let's go to Cleveland, the dog pound, where the Cleveland Browns beat the Tennessee Titans 28-14. Cleveland up to 1-1. Tennessee down to 1-1. I'll tell you, Manziel was only 8 of 15. 8 of 15 passing. You're like, okay, that's nothing. But he had 172 yards. He had 2 touchdowns, 2 bombs, no interceptions, had the 2 big plays to Benjamin, and Benjamin also ran back a punt. Benjamin dominated this game for Cleveland. I mean, he had the 2 big receptions for touchdowns and the punt return for a touchdown. Manziel avoided the big turnover. That's what he's got to do. Scrambled through the deep ball of Benjamin. Manziel played a nice, solid game. Tennessee got off to a slow start in this game. It was 21-0 before Mariota started to pick it up. They got it to 21-14, but then Manziel hit another deep ball of Benjamin. Game over. Cleveland responds in a nice way, gets a nice home win. Tennessee, hey, I picked Tennessee yesterday just because they had a great performance last week, but I'm not all that surprised. I mean, Tennessee winning back-to-back road games with a rookie quarterback, that was asking a lot. Yes, I know they were playing Manziel in Cleveland, but you can't be too surprised here by the outcome of this game. Cleveland gets the win. Tennessee will have their home opener next week. Let's go to the Meadowlands in New Jersey, not too far from here, where the Atlanta Falcons break the New York Giants' heart yet again, where the Falcons win 24-20. Falcons up 2-0. Giants down to 0-2. Giants 2 weeks in a row can't hold the lead in the fourth quarter. Remember what happened in Dallas last week? Well, the Giants are up 20-10 in the fourth quarter here. Can't hold the lead. I mean, the Giants had a golden opportunity to go up like 23-10 or 27-10 in this game. Eli fumbles deep in Atlanta territory. From there, Atlanta goes down and scores, makes it 20-17. Atlanta scores late. They hold off a Giant rally at the end, and Atlanta gets a very nice road win. Nice job, Atlanta. The new coaching staff has this Atlanta defense playing much better. Remember, Atlanta's defense was atrocious last year. Playing much harder this year, much better. You know they can score. You know, Ryan and Jones and those receivers, they're going to get some points. They get anything on offense in that division. They should be right up there at the top. Nice road win by Atlanta. And the Giants, again, outscored 14-0 in the fourth quarter. Can't stop anyone at the end. The defense played hard again for 3 quarters. You can't expect that much from this defense. They're not that good. Pierre Paul's not there. Eli Manning with the big fumble, mistakes, turnovers, bad clock management, play clock running out, delay of games. The Giants mishaps all over the field again. It's just not happening for the Giants. The last 3 years they've started 0-2. I mean, this division is not that good, especially, with Dallas taking all their injuries, but I cannot see the Giants doing anything big this year. I just don't. I just can't see it. I don't love their defense. They're making too many mental mistakes, the Giants. I mean, they could have easily won both of these games. You look up, they blew both of them. They're 0-2. Nice win by the Falcons. The Giants can't get out of their own way. 0-2 for them. Let's go down to D.C., where the Washington Redskins beat the St. Louis Rams 24-10. Washington up to 1-1. Rams down to 1-1. I was very surprised by this game. Very surprised. The Rams impressed me a lot last week in beating Seattle. I thought they'd be much improved this year. I thought they'd be knocking on the door for the playoffs. Washington really manhandled them yesterday, especially with the running game. Washington running game was great with Matt Jones, controlled the whole game. Cousins played well. Washington defense now 2 weeks in a row. Only gave up 10 points here. Only gave up 10 points to Miami last week. Remember, they lost that game on a punt return. Washington's defense really battling. Only gave up 10 points the first 2 games. That's pretty good. You got to give Washington's defense credit. Got enough done on offense yesterday. Awful job by the Rams. The Rams in the first half of this game looked like they didn't get off the plane. These are the type of games the Rams are going to have to win if they want to get to that next level, like contend for the playoffs. You can't have a performance like this. This was an awful, sleepwalking performance by the Rams. The Rams didn't get off the plane. They were still celebrating their big win last week against Seattle. They thought, we beat Seattle, Washington. We'll just show up. We'll take care of them. Rams, you're not good enough to be like that. You're just not good enough to act like that. This was a very, very unprofessional effort by the Rams. Give Washington all sorts of credit for showing up in this game. Cousins played well. Matt Jones, the running game, really carried the day. And the Washington defense now, 2 weeks in a row, has shown up. Nice win by the Skins. Awful loss by the Rams. Let's go down to Jacksonville, where the Jacksonville Jaguars shocked the Miami Dolphins 23-20. Jacksonville up to 1-1. Miami down to 1-1. I mean, Jacksonville kicks the late field goal to win the game. I thought Bortles played well for Jacksonville. Tannehill had a lot of yards for Miami as well. Jacksonville outrushed Miami 123-42. So that's a big edge there on the ground for Jacksonville. How about Miami with all their dumb play? 13 penalties for 112 yards. That's not good football. They took a personal foul on Jacksonville's last drive, let them get into field goal range there. Awful, awful performance by Miami. 13 penalties for 112 yards, totally undisciplined. I was a little nervous about this game coming in. I don't like giving up big points with Miami on the road. They got through the game last week at Washington, but they did not play overall well here yesterday. Very undisciplined. You cannot take 13 penalties on the road. Good job by Jacksonville responding. Jacksonville was awful last week, played much, much better this week. Bortles played much, much better. Jacksonville gets the win. Miami 1-1. They will have their home opener next week. Let's go to the black hole in Oakland, where the Oakland Raiders come back and beat the Baltimore Ravens 37-33. Oakland up to 1-1. Baltimore down to 0-2. Carr, who we didn't know if he was going to even play, had 351 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Oakland scores late to win the game. Where was Baltimore's defense yesterday? Baltimore moved the ball up and down the field. They couldn't stop Oakland. And I know Suggs is not there. Baltimore, you got to be better than this on defense. My goodness, when have you seen a Baltimore team be shredded by a team like Oakland? I mean, terrible job by Baltimore. And their offense got some things done. Baltimore was down twice in this game by 10, and they rallied both times. They actually took a 3-point lead, in the fourth quarter in this game. They could not stop Oakland, and Oakland scores late. Oakland receivers Cooper and Crabtree were very good yesterday. Nice win for Oakland. They look like if Carr can stay healthy, they have some guys on the outside that can make some plays. Oakland showed some real life yesterday. Nice win by Oakland in the black hole. Danger time for Baltimore. I said that about Detroit. Baltimore, without Suggs, their defense was shredded yesterday. I don't like the body language of Baltimore at all right now. Now listen, they lost a tough game to Denver last week. They haven't played a home game yet. This is danger time. This is a tough division. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, who knows about Cleveland, but it's a tough division. Baltimore 0-2. This was not a good loss yesterday for them. Danger time for the Ravens. We'll keep an eye on them. Nice win by Baltimore and Carr. Let's go to Philadelphia. Oh my goodness. Where the Dallas Cowboys beat the Philadelphia Eagles 20-10. Dallas up to 2-0. Philadelphia down to 0-2. This was an ugly, sloppy mess of a game. I thought this would be a shootout. It was anything but. Dallas gets the block punt to go up 13-3. From that point on, it was, you pretty much thought Dallas was going to win the game. I mean, Romo, of course, breaks his collarbone. He's out 8 to 10 weeks, along with Bryant, who's now out a couple of months. So now Dallas has Romo and Bryant out for a couple of months. This division, though, is not good. The Giants are 0-2. The Eagles are 0-2. Redskins are 1-1. Who knows about them? I think Dallas can hang on in this division. Now they got to go Whedon as the backup quarterback. I mean, big injuries for Dallas. And looking at the grand scheme of things, they want to have home field if they make the playoffs. Now you're probably going to lose out on that to like a Green Bay and, other teams. Dallas just has to hold the fort here. I think they can, being it's a bad division, but these are 2 horrible injuries. I mean, Bryant and Romo, 2 of your best players on the team, out for 2 months apiece. I mean, tough break for Dallas, but give Dallas all sorts of credit for winning this game. How about Dallas's defense? I mean, how about them playing some big-time football yesterday? I mean, making big plays all over the field, getting that big interception in the end zone. Nice, gutty win by Dallas. Even when Romo went out of the game, I thought they had the better of the play when Whedon came in. I thought Dallas's defense played outstanding. What in the world were the Eagles doing yesterday? Can't run the ball from here to there. Bradford throwing interceptions all over the place. They look lost, Philadelphia. And I told you when Chip Kelly became the coach there. Chip Kelly tries to be too cute, tries to reinvent the wheel. You can do that at Oregon when you're playing Eastern Washington and those and Cal and those type of teams. Hard to do this in the NFL the way he wants to play. This team is not physical at all. DeMarco Murray, he didn't have any rushing yards yesterday. He was going backwards. He was frustrated. He's throwing his helmet on the sidelines. Where was this great Eagle offense? This Eagle offense that wants to run 100 plays in a quarter and score 40 points and tire out the other team. They look as bad as any team in the league yesterday. What an atrocious performance by the Eagles. They are 0-2 and looking bad. And I'll tell you what, Chip Kelly, watch out, because in Philadelphia, They don't have a lot of patience. They ran, they didn't like Andy Reid at the end, and he got them to a Super Bowl. Chip Kelly's done nothing so far, and I didn't like any of his moves in the offseason. He brings Bradford in, who's always hurt. You get rid of McCoy, you get rid of Macklin. He's making all these changes, brings in Tebow, cuts Tebow. What are the Eagles doing here? 10 points at home? Can't move the ball from here to there? Kelly's supposed to be this offensive guru. This is one of the worst offensive performances yesterday ever. They didn't do anything. This was an ugly, sloppy mess. I saw nothing innovative here from Chip Kelly. This was embarrassing. The Eagle fans had to, sit through this mess. Awful loss by Philadelphia. Danger time for them as well. Chip Kelly could be on the hot seat. A couple more of these performances, they'll be calling for him to be fired. Nice, gutty win for Dallas on the road. We'll see if they can hold the fort while Romo and Bryant get better. I think they can because it's such a bad division, but those are two terrible losses injury-wise for Dallas. Nice gutty win for the Cowboys. Awful, atrocious, embarrassing loss for Chip Kelly and the Eagles. The Thursday night game, the Denver Broncos beat the Kansas City Chiefs 31-24 at Arrowhead in Kansas City. Denver up to 2-0, Kansas City down to 1-1. I'll tell you, I got on the Giants last week for their clock management. How about the Chiefs Thursday night? What in the world were they doing? They're up 14-0 in this game. Then they're up 14-7 right before the half. Broncos score to make it 14-7. There's about 2 minutes to go in the half. Broncos are out of timeouts. You figure the Chiefs just run the ball, get at it, get to the halftime with a lead. No. What do? Alex Smith is passing, gets picked off. Broncos tied up 14-14. Then the Chiefs are up 24-17. You think they can hold the lead again? Nope. Let Manning waltz down the field, tied up 24-24 with about, 35 seconds to go in the game. Chiefs, what do when they get the ball? Instead of just taking a knee and getting, to overtime, what do? They run the ball, they fumble, Denver picks it up, runs it into the end zone, wins the game, steals the game for the second straight week. Denver stole the game against Baltimore, stole it again here against Kansas City. What in the world is Andy Reid doing at the end of the half, at the end of the game? The end of the half, just run the ball and get out with a 14-7 lead. And at the end of the game, take a knee, get to overtime, and take your chances. The Chiefs had 5 turnovers at home in this game. You're not going to win too many games with 5 turnovers. The Chiefs handed this game to Denver. They had every chance in the world to win this game. Couldn't get it done. What else is new? Denver beats Kansas City for what? Like the 7th straight time. Once again, you're going to look up. Denver's going to be 13-3. Another division title. Bye week in the playoffs. Home game. And then we'll deal with Manning in the playoffs. That's what you're going to get from Denver. The writing's on the wall. Chiefs, they want to get to the next level. You have to win these type of games. You're up 14-0 in your building. You're up 24-17 in your building. Get the job done. 5 turnovers. Alex Smith, 2 bad picks. Charles, 2 big fumbles. Andy Reid, clueless with his clock management. Awful loss by Kansas City. Just embarrassing how they let that game slip away. Here, Denver. Here's another turnover. Take the game. You can have the division crown. We'll contend for maybe, a wild card. Denver gets the win. Writing's on the wall. They're going to go 13-3 again. Same old story with Peyton Manning. The Sunday night game last night, the Green Bay Packers at home in historic Lambeau Field beat the Seattle Seahawks 27-17. Packers up to 2-0. Seattle down to 0-2. That's very important. Green Bay now has a 2-game lead on Seattle and the tiebreaker in case those teams, meet in the playoffs. If they meet, right now it looks like that'll be at Lambeau Field, and make no mistake about it. Green Bay is a Super Bowl contender. With Seattle struggling, Dallas's injuries, Green Bay to me looks like the favorite right now. I know they lost Nelson for the year. They're deep at receiver though. Green Bay looks like one of the favorites in the NFC to get to the Super Bowl right now. Green Bay had an early lead in this game. They're up 10-3. Right before the half, I thought they were going to go up 17-3. Couldn't get in, had to settle for a field goal. They're up 13-3 at the half, in great shape. Seattle plays great in the third quarter. Russell Wilson scrambling all over the place, making plays. You look up and all of a sudden it's 17-13. Seattle's winning. Then Green Bay comes back. They get a couple of touchdowns. They go up 27-17. They win the game. This was a nice win for Green Bay. And how about Aaron Rodgers? Did you see the stats they put up on this guy? Hasn't thrown an interception at Lambeau Field since 2012. Are you kidding me? Hasn't thrown an interception at home in 3 years. I mean, that's mind-boggling. I think they put up a stat where Green Bay, the last 50 games, has had a lead at some point in the game in every game. So they've never, lost a game. They've never had a game where they've, just been behind the whole game. They've had a lead in every game at some point. Now, they've lost some of them in 50 straight games. This is mind-boggling stats for Green Bay. Make no mistake about it. Green Bay, one of the favorites to get to the Super Bowl. They get a little revenge from last year's loss in the NFC Championship game. Seattle 0-2. Now listen, we all love Seattle. They got to get Chancellor back. Got to get him back in that defense. They're 2 games behind, Arizona now in the division. Seattle started slow last year, ended up passing Arizona, but remember, Arizona didn't have Palmer. I think Arizona's a lot better this year. Remember, Seattle want to be home in the playoffs with that great home crowd. Not that Seattle can't play on the road. They can, but they'd much rather be at home in Seattle. And another thing I was thinking of, is this the year Seattle takes a small step back? Now, they're always going to be good, but they've been to 2 straight Super Bowls. Very, very hard to get back to another Super Bowl 3 years in a row. Do they take a small, tiny step back this year and not get to the Super Bowl? Maybe, and they need Chancellor back in the worst way. Gotta have him back there, captaining that defense. Nice win by Green Bay, important win for Green Bay. Nice game last night. And as far as tonight, you have Indianapolis and the Jets in Indy. Indy's got a bunch of injuries in this game. We'll see if they play better than they did last week, where they just played an atrocious game up in Buffalo. And the Jets, listen, I can't expect the Jets to go into Indianapolis and win a road game, but the Jets did win last week. They did look pretty good. I would expect the Colts to squeak this one out. So that's where you were in week number 2 of the NFL. A week, like I said, where Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, Oakland, Washington, and Cleveland all won on the same day for the first time in history. And I know Jacksonville hasn't been around all that long. They've been around long enough where that stat means something. I cannot believe that those 5 teams all won outright on the same day after the way they played last week. Remember how Tampa played last week, and Oakland, and Jacksonville, and Cleveland, and even Washington in the second half, and they all come back and win this week against some pretty decent teams as well. Hard to believe. That's why the NFL is week to week, hard to predict. You never know what you're going to get week to week. I mean, Tampa Bay, how would you figure them yesterday? I know New Orleans isn't great, but come on. Tampa Bay lost 42-14 at home to Tennessee last week. Winston was lost last week. How could you figure that they're going to dominate New Orleans for most of that game in the Superdome? That's the NFL. That's why we love it so much. Very unpredictable, very week to week. That's your NFL. As far as the college football over the weekend, Ohio State hung on and beat Northern Illinois. Ohio State right now is going through the motions. Don't seem to be motivated against these teams they know they can beat. How about Ole Miss going into Alabama, upsetting Alabama 43-37 in a wild game? I hope you caught this game. I'm impressed with Ole Miss. They got some really good receivers. The quarterback played well. Have some guys on defense that are going to the NFL. Ole Miss, a solid team. I think they're up to 3 in the polls. Alabama just shot themselves in the foot. 5 turnovers at home. I mean, just like I said about the Chiefs, you can't win when you turn the ball over 5 times. And Alabama did try to rally a couple times, fell a little short. They're still not out of it, Alabama. 1 loss in the SEC, you're not out of it, but Alabama's now got to pretty much run the table. Nice win by Ole Miss. How about Notre Dame at home? I called that one, right? Everyone was on the Georgia Tech bandwagon. Notre Dame wins at home 30-22. Georgia Tech is a good team. They're not a great team, and that triple option is a little overrated. Yes, it's hard to prepare for, but if maybe if you're a Tulane or a Southeast Louisiana, Georgia Tech's going to put up 56 on you. This is Notre Dame. Notre Dame has a good team, a lot of speed. They're playing at home, and Georgia Tech, I don't care what anyone says, they have trouble throwing the ball. They did again here. Once they fell behind, you knew they were doomed. They did rally a little bit to get it to 30-22, but this was all Notre Dame most of the game. Georgia Tech, good team, not a great team. Everybody on College Game Day picked Georgia Tech to win this game. Herb Street was going on about how they, not only have a great running attack, they have a great passing attack. They don't have a great passing attack. And remember, they're not playing, Tulane here. That triple option, a little overrated against good teams. It's not like Georgia Tech is the greatest team since, that historic Nebraska team back in the day. It's not like Georgia Tech, goes 12-0 every year. They lose, they go like, 8-4 every year? They can be beat. The triple option, you can stop it. Notre Dame did a great job in this game despite all the injuries. The backups all played well. A nice job by Notre Dame. I picked the upset here. I was one of the few that did. Notre Dame with a big win at home. How about LSU at home? Just stomped all over Auburn. Auburn is not good this year. LSU looks like a real contender for, big things this year. They always play defense. They got a great running back. He looks like he's a pro. Have that incredible crowd at Death Valley. LSU looks like they can be a contender for the SEC title this year. And the SEC is very tough. Every game is tough, but LSU looked dynamite over the weekend. Auburn, they look like they're going to struggle this year. UCLA barely beats BYU 24-23. BYU led for a lot of this game. I thought BYU was going to win this game. UCLA rallies late. BYU's magic comes to an end where UCLA picked them off late in the game. Nice come from behind win by UCLA. BYU, hey, the Magic had to run out sooner or later. They had 2 miracle wins. BYU's had a tough schedule, by the way, and I think they go to Michigan this week. BYU, despite the loss, very, very competitive game. UCLA slips through. UCLA at Arizona this week. I think College Game Day will be in Tucson. Not that many big games this week, so UCLA, Arizona, and Tucson is your College Game Day game this week. And how about Stanford? Goes to the Coliseum at USC and bombs USC 41-31. I was shocked by this game. USC led 21-10. I'm like, USC's going to run away with this game. Stanford outscored them the rest of the way 31-10. Every time Stanford had the ball, went down the field and scored. Went down the field and scored. A long drive and scored. USC's defense was awful last year. They look just as bad this year. I thought they'd be improved. We know their offense can score. Defense awful in this game. This was a Stanford team that had 6 points against Northwestern. Now, Northwestern is a pretty good team. They beat Duke this week. Northwestern's pretty good, but still. Stanford had 6 points against Northwestern, on the road. Couldn't get in the end zone. They could do no wrong against USC in the Coliseum. USC's defense, where are you? You guys can't recruit better defensive players than this. And so I'll tell you, the coach of USC, another one that's going to be on a hot seat. Have a couple more performances like this, you're going to be on a hot seat. Stanford, gutty win. I love the coach. He could coach a pro team, no doubt about it. I was shocked how bad USC's defense. 21-10 USC in the second quarter, and they get outscored at home 31-10 by Stanford, who scored 6 points at Northwestern. Nice win by Stanford. Deplorable loss by USC. Terrible defensive effort. You can't recruit better defensive players at USC than that. Awful loss by USC. I did watch Miami beat Nebraska in overtime. That was a wild game. Miami had a big lead. Nebraska caught up, but Miami wins in overtime. Nebraska throws the big interception. I wanted to mention this game because did you see the crowd in Miami? Or should I say, did you see the empty seats in Miami? There was no one there. I don't know what the announced crowd was there, but I don't think they had 30,000 in like a 70,000 seat stadium. And I think most of the crowd was dressed in red. They were Nebraska fans. Miami, what are you doing? This is the Miami Hurricanes. They're 3-0. They got a historic program coming in Nebraska, and you guys don't show up. And I don't want to hear that it was hot. You guys live in Miami. It's hot every day. I don't want to hear it. That's why when people ask me about bad sports cities, Miami's on my list. And don't get insulted, South Florida. It's just the way it is. You guys have a lot to do down there. A lot of people that live in Miami are not from Miami, so they don't like the local teams. They'd rather be at the beach than the game. They're not really wild, passionate fans that you get somewhere like, Boston or Philadelphia or somewhere else around the country. Miami, a very poor sports city. If there was 30,000 at that game yesterday, it would be a lot. It was probably less than that, and I think the fans that were there were all Nebraska fans. I mean, the fans I saw were all in red. There was nobody there. I got to check the attendance for that game. I'll give it to you tomorrow. I think there was less than 30,000 there in like a 70,000 seat stadium for Miami, Nebraska. Miami Hurricanes. Miami Hurricanes. This isn't Florida Atlantic playing, southeastern, Illinois or something. I mean, what an awful job by the fans in South Florida. You got to support this team. You got to give this team some, home field advantage. It's the Miami Hurricanes, a historic program. They're playing Nebraska. You guys don't show up for this game? Terrible job by the Miami fans. One of the worst sports cities in all the United States, Miami of Florida, for a lot of reasons. A lot to do down there. A lot of people are not from there, not passionate about their sports. You know the way it is. Don't get upset with me, South Florida. That's just the way it is. You guys didn't show up to this game. I mean, terrible job by you. Awful. So that was your college football over the weekend. Oh, I should mention also Missouri beat UConn 9-6. UConn had every chance to win this game. Had a chance to tie the game at the end to go into overtime. What do? They run a fake field goal, which ends up getting picked off. Missouri hangs on and wins. So Missouri escaped. UConn had every chance in the world to win this game. Didn't like the fake field goal call there at all. So Missouri did escape over the weekend. All right, so that's where you were in your college football. As far as Major League Baseball, we're getting down to the home stretch now in the American League. I think Toronto's going to hang on and win that American League East. Kansas City, will win the Central. The West is between Texas and Houston. Texas has a 2-game lead. Wild card, Yankees in good shape for the wild card. Then the battle is for that last wild card spot. Right now, Houston has a 2.5-game lead over the Angels. 2.5-game lead over Minnesota, 4 over Cleveland. So right now, Houston has that last wild card spot, but it's no sure thing. And as far as the National League, it's going to be the Mets, St. Louis, the Dodgers, Pittsburgh, and the Cubs as your wild card. A real race to look at. Mets and Dodgers for home field. They're going to play in the first round. Dodgers, I think, have a 1-game lead right now. That could mean all the difference. Where do you want to have Game 5? At Dodger Stadium or Citi Field? The Mets have played really well at Citi Field this year. That could determine the winner of that series, who has home field. Right now, the Dodgers have a slim 1-game lead. Keep an eye on that. So that's where you are in your baseball. We're coming down the home stretch now in baseball. Really starting to get there. I mean, teams got to really make their move right now. And how about Jason Day in golf? I mean, I know there's been a lot going on. How about what Jason Day's doing? The guy is playing incredible golf. I hope you caught some of his play over the weekend. The guy is lights out. He can't play any better. He is on one of these rolls. He cannot be stopped. Tremendous job by Jason Day. Tiger Woods, yet another setback, another back surgery. He'll be out till early 2016. The negative stuff with Tiger Woods keeps piling on. I told you, I don't think Tiger Woods is going to catch Jack Nicklaus now. I just don't. He hasn't won a major since 2008. Hard to believe he's going to win 4 or 5 majors now. Can't see it happening, especially with the level of competition now with Jason Day and Spieth and McIlroy and all these great young golfers. And Tiger Woods with all these ailments, the back, the knee, the this, the that, it's always some problem with him. I'd like to see him get healthy. You'd like to see Tiger Woods playing healthy at these tournaments. He's good for golf. Everyone pays attention when Tiger Woods is playing. But I don't know. It's one thing after another with Tiger Woods. But Jason Day, the complete opposite. Jason Day is on absolute fire. I mean, he was unbelievable over the weekend. He is on absolute fire. Hope you caught some of that. Okay, there you go. You guys are all caught up. You guys are all set tomorrow. NFL and college picks coming up. NFL for week 3, college for week 4. I've already done my homework. I know where I'm headed with the picks. I have a good feeling about the picks, especially in college football. I got a lot of games for you in college football tomorrow. Not a great weekend for college football as far as big games. Like I said, the biggest game is UCLA-Arizona. That's not a great game. It's an okay game, especially since UCLA barely beat BYU last week. So you don't have too many big games next week, but I have a lot of games to pick for you. Have all my NFL picks for you. We'll get to that right off the bat tomorrow. You guys, thanks as always for your support. You guys enjoy the Monday Night Football game tonight. I think the Colts eke it out. Stay safe. I will talk to you tomorrow. NFL picks and college picks coming up tomorrow. Take care.